New York has 3.1 million immigrants, but about 360,000 of them are undocumented. Immigration attorney Wayne Benjamin Marsh will be joining me in a moment to discuss some of the problems these New York residents are encountering and some of the good things that are happening in their favor. Also in this program, you'll meet a young academic achiever from the School for the Gifted and Talented in Brooklyn. He'll be telling Rudy Daly about his accomplishments at school. Following the Young Academic Achiever program, Jennifer Joseph will be joining us. She'll have as her guest a vice president of the Brooklyn chapter of the NAACP who, in addition to that, is doing so much as an artist. Immigration. Many of us are asking what is going on. On the other hand, many immigrants are saying they don't like what's going on. Wayne Marsh, welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Good night, and thank you for having me.
We'll be talking about what is going on. President Trump is continuing his war on immigrants. Is this rhetoric or a threat?
I'm not sure that I could agree with this as being merely rhetoric or threat. I think it's a very real situation that is affecting many New Yorkers, and not only New Yorkers, persons in the United States of America on a whole.
What about the effect on people here in Brooklyn?
Well, the effect of people here in Brooklyn is no different from the effect that it is happening nationwide. And so we've seen the president speak about certain efforts to have the government fund this border wall, etc. That is not something that does not affect New Yorkers. It affects New Yorkers and the entire United States.
How does it affect New Yorkers?
Well, New York is a very diverse community. Mm-hmm. There is Mexicans just like in New York, just as in any other community. And whatever happens in any jurisdiction, in any state in the United States, affects every single person in the United States, whether it is in Brooklyn or in any other place.
His threats, are they geared at illegal immigrants or legal immigrants as well? I
think this notion that there is illegal immigration into the United States is really a hoax. Throughout centuries, persons have been coming here to the United States. Some via what is considered legal means. They might have come here and their status might have expired. Other persons might have crossed the border. But the issue of crossing the border is not really a serious issue.
Why?
Well, for example, recently we would have heard the president speak about there is this number of immigrants who come in here. Many of them are terrorists. Many of them are bringing in drugs into this country. There is no evidence to support that. In fact, the Department of State recently, as recently as September, published its annual report on terrorism. And in that report, it has said that there's no credible evidence that any international terrorist organization has collaborated with specifically Mexico, because that is, I think, the primary country that the president speaks about when he speaks about building this wall and we're on the threat and there's this emergency. The Department of State has recently said that there's no credible evidence of terrorist groups organizing in Mexico, and there's no evidence to suggest that terrorists is coming to the United States via the southern border.
Back to Brooklyn. I know there's a lot of vetting of immigrants here.
I think what we're seeing in Brooklyn, specifically in my practice, is that there is this, when the president took office, he spoke about extreme vetting. And extreme vetting essentially means that we're going to be digging a little bit deeper into your background. We're going to be asking you more questions. We're going to be trying to determine whether or not there's any iota of evidence that would suggest we should not allow you into the United States. And so when I advise clients, I tell them, listen, you have to be honest with your attorney, because whereas we could imagine that the immigration officials are looking for a way of admitting you into the United States, I tell them the table has turned. So what we're seeing is that we could conclude that the authorities are looking for ways of denying you entry into the United States. So for example, if you were making a petition for adjustment of status, the already rigorous procedure of doing background checks and all of that, that is increased. What has increased as well for persons in Brooklyn that I've seen personally is that the length of time it takes to adjust your status has also increased. The forms for immigration applications are much longer, much more involved. And so if you are considering adjusting of status, if you're considering naturalization applications, petitions, then you would be very much cautioned to exercise, care when you're making these applications.
Right. We heard that the Governor Cuomo, you're smiling,
Yes, sir.
has granted pardons to 29 immigrants, and some of these were facing deportation. What is your take on that?
I think it's a very good thing. But what I would like to really stress, though, is that these pardons that the governor has made, I have not dug into details as to who those persons are and what particular criminal convictions that they would have had. But for the purposes of the INA, Immigration Nationality Act, there are some criminal activities that can be pardoned by either a presidential pardon or a gubernatorial pardon, which means the governor of the state, whether it's New York or any other state, would have had to give in an unconditional pardon to that individual. And if that is the case, then that person's crime would have been treated as non-existent. So that is something to be welcomed, but we would want to caution individuals that to expect a gubernatorial pardon is not something that we could rest assured in.
And that happens once a year.
Not only does it happen once a year, but it happens to very few people.
Few people, yes.
Right. So 29, that is non-existent as far as I'm concerned.
Non-existent, not minuscule, non-existent. I know many attorneys have been saying that when people are applying for naturalization,
Correct.
they should not just go ahead and use the forms because they're not professionals as the attorneys are. And they should seek professional help.
What I would suggest, many persons who are here as, first of all, a naturalization form is only available to a legal resident, a legal permanent resident. And that person would have satisfied a certain number of years of residing legally in the United States. However, even though a person might have come to the United States seeking a better life, that is not always the case for many of us. And so when you go online and when you're thinking of naturalization, you're obviously thinking about cost. It can be very expensive. I think the approximate cost to naturalize now is about $700 plus thereabout. If you're going to be doing it yourself, if you're going to hire an attorney, then obviously that cost increases.
Increase a bit.
However, what immigrants who are thinking of naturalization ought to be aware of is that if there is any inkling or any reason whatsoever for them to be concerned as to actions they may have done or may not have done, then that person should seek an attorney, because the consequence of not doing so would be a lot greater than doing so. For example, go ahead.
Go on.
For example, if you were denied, then there may be some reason that you could have, there could have been something that an attorney would have been able to point out to you and tell you, hey, listen, this is not the right time to make this application, etc.
How does the president's, you're smiling again. There's so many people who don't want to even discuss the president, but this is so real. Is this policy affecting local businesses here in Brooklyn?
I think the best way to answer that question is to just point out that of the Fortune 500 companies in the United States, approximately 43% of that Fortune 500 were created or created by immigrants.
Immigrants, yes.
43%. If you look at the top 35 of the 45 of the top Fortune 500 companies, that number increases to 57%. So I think that fact answers your question.
when we're going to have you back. This immigration situation is not going to end anytime soon, unfortunately.
I don't think it will.
Yep. Thank you very much for being on Brooklyn 45.
Thank you.
We are so proud of our middle and high school students, and you'll get to meet one of them shortly. But first, Jennifer Joseph, you've got a very interesting guest.
Thank you, Sam. My guest today is an artist, playwright, educator, and activist. He was hailed in the New York Times as one of the most talented directors in New York these days. He is the third vice president of the NAACP of the Borough of Brooklyn. I want to welcome my friend, whom I call the Renaissance Man, Mr. Rajendra Ramoon Maharaj.
Hello, Jennifer.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
You're welcome, Rajendra. Rajendra, I would like to say congratulations on being elected Vice President of the NAACP Brooklyn chapter.
Thank you. It was a full circle moment and a dream come true, and I'm really excited to be able to serve the good people of Brooklyn with the NAACP and the causes that are very close to us.
Great. So, Rajendra, what is your focus or your goal as Vice President of the NAACP?
Well, my main thing is any officer and any member is that we are in service, we're activists. And my particular focus is going to be on human trafficking, as well as making sure that young black men of all ages who continue to be marginalized have a voice, have a platform, and arts education, which is important to both of us.
Right.
So those are some of the main issues that I'm going to be tackling in my first year.
Oh, okay. Now you mentioned young black men. How about young black women?
Yes, of course, particularly because there's a lot of human trafficking that's happening in our borough, and particularly of women of color from the island. So it's something that I'm very, very staying focused on and wanting to continue to bring attention to. And we have to continue to be weary and aware of these platforms that pull children into from the internet or just from crossing the border and get caught up into certain situations that aren't fruitful for them. So the NAACP gives them a voice and a platform.
Yes, that's great. That's great. In terms of immigration, what would you contribute? What voice would you share?
Well, I'm a son and a grandson of immigrants. And I think that it's really important that to us to all remember that this country was built on immigrants. And right now, programs like the New Sanctuary Project, work that the NAACP does, the ACLU, are fighting to make sure that human beings are treated with such dignity and respect. And we continue right now, as we get more polarized in our country, the need, Jennifer, to be able to make sure that people are treated with the basic dignity and kindness that we would, give anyone is necessary.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thanks for sharing that, Rajendra. Now, Rajendra, I would like to switch on creativity. I met you as a director,
Yes.
as a choreographer,
Yes.
as a fantastic human being. I know you, that realm of you.
Yes, thank you.
You wrote several plays.
Yes.
One of them, I believe it was last year or year before the last, it's the Little Rock Nine.
Yes, Little Rock. And
Let's talk about that.
Well, 13 years ago, I went to Little Rock, Arkansas, and I went and had a day off. In the theater on Mondays we have day offs. And I went to visit Little Rock Central High School. And I had what we call a Sankofa moment, where our ancestors just spoke through me. And so for 13 years, I've interviewed the members of the Little Rock Nine, as well as the Klan and the segregationists who tried to keep them out. And I've been blessed to create this play called Little Rock that just premiered off-Broadway this summer. And the Little Rock Nine members that are living, who have the Congressional Gold Medal, came to see the show, as well as President Clinton and Hillary Rodham Clinton and Chelsea Clinton. And so many people came and were touched by it. And it's been a labor of love, and it's changed my life.
Wow. Is that the play that was, that you have that wonderful critique on?
Yes, yeah, it was
Was it
actually,
Little Rock
yeah,
Nine?
the New York Times made it a critic's pick, which was like incredible for
Great,
a first time off-Broadway
congratulations.
playwright, and it was a great honor. And it's because of that play, Jennifer, that I ran for office for the NAACP, because I know in 1957 what they did to help the Little Rock Nine and help Dr. King and Thurgood Marshall. And I thought in 2019, clearly I could be part of that struggle because I benefited. And so here we are.
Wow, that's why you wrote that. Now it took you 13 years, you said. you were
13
working on
years,
that.
because I had to collect the interviews and then transcribe them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in the theater, we do readings and workshops,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yes, yes, yes. And how about Daisy? You also wrote a play
Yeah,
called
about,
Daisy?
about Daisy Bates, who was the woman who organized the Little Rock Nine. And one of my missions is to always give voice to people who have been historically bypassed or marginalized. And women of color, as you know, continue in all aspects of American society to sometimes be overlooked or make less money. And Daisy Bates, there would be no Little Rock Nine had there not been her. So I wanted to give an homage and honor her. And also, she was the only woman to speak at the I Have a Dream speech.
Really?
With Dr. King. He chose her because of her success with the Little Rock Nine to speak. So she was one of the only women to speak that day.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Do you see? How about Mother Emanuel?
Mother Emanuel was a labor of love, and it was a piece that came because after the shooting happened, I, like so many Americans, was devastated. I couldn't believe this had happened in a church, and particularly to black people who were worshiping. And so I said, well, what can I do? And usually for me, that means go write something or do something to change the world. And so Mother Emanuel came out of testimonies and interviews and documentation about the shooting, and we premiered 2 years ago off Broadway at the New York International Fringe Festival, which we won Best Musical. And then we brought it down to Alabama to the Human Rights Festival, and we had members of Mother Emanuel who were in the church that day and their family members who saw it and bared witness, and they just said they loved it so much and it touched them so deeply.
Wow, because you told the story.
Yeah, we told the last 90 minutes before the person who murdered them, who we won't say his name, murdered them. And so it was the last 90 minutes of the prayer service before the shooting happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I always love about you, Rajendra. You tell stories and you get to the core of the matter, and you make people leave the theater laughing, crying, dancing. So tell me, what new works are you working on right now?
Well, actually, I'm working on a piece about Charlottesville, and it's a story about the group of friends that was with Heather, who was the young woman who was run over by a neo-Nazi, and they're encountering neo-Nazis right after the incident happened. And I got inspired seeing Black Klansman because I'd seen that movie, and the ending and what Spike did, who's a fellow Brooklynite and director, just changed like how I can connect the past with the present. And so I'm working on that piece right now, and I'm really excited. And then I'm working on a piece about Haitian women who have been undocumented and what they're going through, trying to have sanctuary for them and their children in this country under the administration.
Wow, so you're taking a lot of real life stories and incorporating it into theater and telling the story.
Yeah, I mean, Shakespeare said our work should be of the time.
Yeah.
And right now, I think it's so necessary for us as citizens, as patriots, as artists, to use our voice. And I choose to use the theater as well as the NAACP.
Wow, wow. I am so impressed.
Oh, thank you.
What else would you like to share with us?
Well, I just think that there's opportunities for everyone, all of your viewers, to be able to get involved. And if it's not joining the NAACP, the ACLU, joining your community church, everyone can make a difference. And I think that, as Dr. Maya Angelou said, we're more alike than different. And so we have to just hold on to that as we move forward in these troubling, divisive political times, that we are brothers and sisters and that we will overcome someday.
Yes. You also are, one of your passion, one of the things you love are quotations.
Yes, yes, I do. I do.
Give me one of your best quotes. How would you like to, let's say we wrap this evening up with
A quote?
a quote.
I love that, Jennifer. Thank you. I think I'm going to quote tonight Dr. King, who's one of my heroes. And Dr. King said that, we have flown in the air like the birds, and we have swum in the sea like the fishes, and yet we still have not learned the simple act of walking on the earth as brother and sister.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajendra.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I am Jennifer Joseph. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Jennifer Joseph. It's now time for you to meet another outstanding Brooklyn Public School student in our Young Academic Achiever series. Rudy?
Welcome to another edition of Young Academic Achievers. My name is Roger Daly, hosting for today. Today I'm with...
Melvin Vargas,
And Melvin, where do you go to school?
IS 392,
Who's your principal there?
Ingrid Joseph,
What grade are you in, Melvin?
8th,
8th? Awesome. What is your favorite subject in school?
art,
Art? Why?
because I like to draw.
So are you planning to do something with that in the future?
Maybe be a cartoonist or an animator.
An animator. What exactly do you do as a cartoonist or animator?
You draw cartoons, and as a cartoonist, you draw cartoons, but as an animator, you make like stories with the cartoons, but moving.
Do you take art in school today? Now?
Well, today I was supposed to, but I had a schedule
I'm
change.
talking about, I should say in general. Do you have art class?
Yeah.
All right, and that's every day?
No, only like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, and have you been taking all 3 years of middle school?
Yep.
All right. So you're getting ready to go to high school.
Yeah.
Excited?
No.
No? Where would you like to go?
It was Chelsea so-and-so. I forgot the rest of it, but I remember the name Chelsea.
Okay, you only chose one school?
No, I chose about 16.
About 16. Okay, did you apply for the special high school?
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess you went for your grades back in March.
Yeah.
What was your number one choice?
I think it was Brooklyn Tech.
Brooklyn Tech? You think? All right. What was your last choice? Did you put all 8 down?
Yes. I think my last choice was Brooklyn Latin.
Okay. You should have been number 1, man. It should have been Brooklyn Latin is a gem that people don't know about. They only know about Brooklyn Tech. Awesome. So tell me, what do you do in your spare time? What's some things that you do?
I draw a little bit and read
Okay. What type of books do you like to read?
mystery books.
Mystery. You have a favorite author you can think about?
Lemony Snicket.
Lemony, is that an author or book? Or name of a book?
Author.
Lemony
Snicket.
Snicket. And well, tell me a book that he or she? I've never
I
heard of
don't
this.
know because they're a mystery.
Okay, they're just all mysteries.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So let's go back. We were talking a little bit earlier. You talk about some things that you've done in school and in the summer. You seem to be very interested in community, right, and politics, right? Tell me about some of the community stuff that you've done.
I worked in a hackathon where we were trying to find a community issue, and my community issue was either high crime rates or low police rates. So we made this ring called Ring Alert, but it wasn't really a real ring, but theoretically, and it would make a loud alarm and call the police at the same time.
How did that go over with the community?
They liked it.
Okay, was it a class project or just something that's school-wide? The school-wide project, or was it a class project?
It was a school-wide project.
And so you and your 5 friends, so you get the high fives and the shout-outs?
Yeah.
So who's your principal?
Ingrid Joseph.
So did she shout you out over the PA?
No.
No, we're gonna have to talk to her about that, right? That she needs to shout you out.
Yeah.
You also told me you did something else with the 71st precinct. What was that?
It was the YPA. It was a youth police academy.
What was that about?
We did physical training, which was like a mini version of what they would do if you were in a real police academy, and we went on trips every Friday.
Okay. Do you remember a place you went?
I went to Rye Playland. It was great, but it was really hot, so the seats just hurt.
So do you remember the police officer you worked with?
I think it was Hopkins.
Hopkins. Okay, Officer Hopkins. Okay. So you plan to do that again?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I was telling you earlier that I met with the commander of the Brooklyn South precinct, school safety, and they were bigging that up, and they want more people to be involved in the YPA program. Okay. Have you thought about college?
Yes.
And where are you off to, Mr. Melvin?
I don't know yet, but I know that I should start researching them.
Okay. So any interest at all? So you basically, when you say cartoonist, have you looked at any schools, any colleges that offer this program?
Yeah, but I haven't found a good one.
You haven't found a good one. You need to research some more.
Yeah.
U.S. News and College. U.S. News and College. I forgot the last part. If you look them up, they could help you and plug in cartoonist or animator. So you watch those Japanese flicks
Sometimes.
with animation? And my son loves that. And he's a little bit older than you, so I could see the interest. So talk to me about some of your role models. Who are some of your role models?
Well, one of them was Stan Lee until he passed away recently.
Okay, why was he a role model?
Because he made the entire Marvel franchise, which I love.
But you told me that you're not interested in superheroes, so tell me about that.
I just don't want to make a superhero because everybody else already did it before. So
So what's going to be your niche? Oh, yeah? Who's your everyday role model?
my mom
Why?
and my dad, because they both work so hard to, bring me into existence and make sure I have my good grades.
What is that like at home? Melvin, go do your homework? No?
Yeah.
Or you just automatically do your homework?
Well, yeah, now I do.
Now you do? Okay, I got you. So like every day, what's the routine? Tell me a little bit about the routine.
Wake up and really early in the
So like,
morning.
I want you to tell somebody out there your routine when you want to get good grades.
Do your homework.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you for the little advice, Melvin. It's a pleasure having you on the program. All right, congratulations for all your good work.
Thanks.
Awesome, high five. Good job. Thank you for this edition of YAA. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Rudy. You also heard Jennifer Joseph talking to Rajendra Maharaj and my first guest, immigration attorney Wayne Marsh. You can watch this program on our YouTube site, youtube.com/Brooklyn45TV. Please also visit our Facebook page, like us, and post your comment about anything you just heard. We also have some recent posts on our Facebook page that we do want you to respond to. That's important. And you must type Brooklyn 45 TV. Since some dude watched our program on TV and decided to set up his own Brooklyn 45 page that has some stuff there that's completely unrelated to us. Our Facebook page is Brooklyn 45 TV. On behalf of our Brooklyn 45 team, I'm Sam Tate.